Hi YouTube, Watchify here with another video. For this one, I thought I would quickly show you how to replace a bezel insert. It's one of the easier mods to do, assuming your rotating bezel isn't so tight that you can't get underneath it with a pry tool. You might want to replace a damaged insert, or maybe you just want to change it out to a ceramic or a sapphire one to change how your watch looks. That's what I'm doing here by replacing the OEM aluminum Seiko Mini Turtle insert with a loomed sapphire insert. You have to wedge the pry tool between the case and the bezel and apply pressure so that it separates the two. You'll usually hear a pop, and then you can start lifting up on the tool until the bezel releases fully. You'll want to be careful during this process so that you don't scratch your case. I've seen some place tape on the case to protect it during this, but I didn't do it here since I know the insert on this Mini Turtle comes off pretty easily. Once the bezel's off, you can see the click spring underneath, and you'll want to use this opportunity to clean off any dust or grime. For that, I just use a cotton swab and some rubbing alcohol. The click spring is held in place with two metal prongs that sit into two small holes in the case. I'm going to remove one end of the bracelet because later I'm going to need to place the watch on a press tool to reattach the bezel. You could have done this part in the beginning, but I just forgot to do it. Now comes the part where you need to remove the existing insert. For that, I use the same pry tool. The insert will overhang the bezel a bit, and that's where you're going to want to place the tip of the tool. Apply some gentle pressure to get some separation between the insert and bezel, and just start working your way around to get enough separation to where you can fully remove the insert. You'll want to be careful as to not scratch the insert while doing this. And of note is that if this were a ceramic or sapphire insert I was trying to remove like this, it would most likely crack unless I first soaked the bezel in some adhesive remover. I learned that lesson the hard way. So once you get the old insert off, you're going to want to check it to make sure it didn't get bent out of shape during the removal process. I would never discard an old insert unless it was cracked or broken, as if I ever decided to sell the watch later, I would want to include the original insert in the box. Another thing to check for is the 12 o'clock loom pip. This OEM insert has one and it didn't stay attached to the insert, so make sure you don't lose it, as I found that replacement OEM loom pips like these are hard to find for sale. Now you're going to need to remove all the old leftover adhesive from the bezel. I use my fingernail or the pry tool I used earlier to peel off as much as I can, and then I go over it with a cotton swab and rubbing alcohol to get rid of all traces of it. If you leave any behind, it'll probably interfere with the new insert being able to sit flush on the bezel. When you purchase a new insert, it'll come with at least one new adhesive ring. Now I place the bezel back onto the watch to prepare to press it back on. It's important that you don't install the new insert yet, because if you did, it most likely wouldn't be properly aligned with the dial indices, and it could get damaged or cracked when pressing the bezel back onto the case. I use this inexpensive press tool that I got from Amazon a while back. They come in handy for removing and installing crystals and also for reattaching bezels. Pick out a top and bottom bit that are sized appropriately for the watch. Place the watch into the press and press down firmly until you hear a pop. Take the watch out and check the bezel rotation. Also make sure to turn the bezel fully towards the right to make sure it isn't in between clicks before you move on to the next step of installing the new insert. I got this sapphire insert from a site named Loom Ceramic Bezel Inserts. I got the black version, but they have a blue one also. The numerals and markings on this insert are loomed in green. I take it out to check that it doesn't have any defects or cracks, and you may have noticed that it has what looks like an adhesive ring applied to the back, but it isn't that. It's just something they put on to provide support to the insert, so don't try to peel it off. These are a bit pricey at $60, and I think that has to do with how the Mini Turtle is much less popular than other Seiko models like the SKX and Turtle, so therefore there isn't a lot of options in terms of mod parts for it. Now I need to apply the adhesive ring to the new insert. There are several ways to do this, and I'm not sure if my way is the best, but what I do is I peel the entire ring off the backing, and then I place it onto the back of the insert, trying my best to align it properly. I found that once I get it on, it's easy to punch out the middle section, just leaving the outer ring. After doing this, if the alignment is still off a bit, I've found that I can nudge the adhesive in the direction I want it to go if I feel it's uneven. Now I remove the backing from the ring and carefully eyeball it to make sure I apply the insert so that it aligns as best as possible with the dowel indices. Take your time with this part, as if you're dealing with a ceramic or sapphire insert, you pretty much have one shot to get it right. Once I'm satisfied, I then press down on the insert to make sure it's fully seated onto the bezel, and then I check to make sure it's sitting flush. I know some watch owners are traditionalists and prefer aluminum inserts, but I really like the look that ceramic and sapphire inserts give a watch, and here I'm very happy with the end result. I did the same for my Seiko Sumo SPB 101J with a lume ceramic bezel that I also got from the same retailer. The insert for the Sumo costs $45, so less than the sapphire mini turtle one. Here's a lume shot of the new mini turtle insert and one for the new Sumo insert. I feel this is a mod that most enthusiasts can do themselves with just a little knowledge and a couple of inexpensive tools. The trickiest part will be whether the bezel on your watch is able to be pried off. I found that for some Seiko models it's quite easy, whereas with others it's next to impossible to get off the bezel without damaging the case. There's a workaround for those, but it involves removing the case back, movement, and crystals, so it's much more invasive. Before I go, I wanted to provide an update to my last video on the pre-owned Seiko Sea Urchin that I bought from a seller on OfferUp. Its hardlex and aluminum insert were scratched, and I mentioned I was going to replace the hardlex with a low double dome sapphire crystal and the insert with a ceramic Urchin style insert. So here's what the end result looks like. I like how it turned out, and I feel the watch has a new lease on life now with a permanent place in my collection. That's going to be it for this video. I hope you found it helpful or interesting, and if you did, feel free to leave a like, comment, or even consider subscribing. I wanted to thank you for watching, of course, and hopefully I'll see you in another video.